Uhuru.
Uhuru.
One Africa.
One nation.
One nation.
One Africa.
Welcome to this week's Sunday rally. We're at the Quabbin Hall in St. Louis. We're located at 4101 West Florissant, on the corner of West Florissant and Allen. So if you're in the city of St. Louis, you have time to get here. We'll be here between 3 to 5 p.m. The theme for today is African love and how African internationalism manifests itself. As we know, around the Secureless holiday, there is the talk of love and things of that nature. Not that we're mimicking the holiday, but we're going to deepen the understanding of what's love, or as our sister Tina Turner said, what's love got to do with it. You know? So she was around the corner down the street. But the International People's Democratic Uhuru movement was founded in 1991 in Chicago, Illinois. InPDUM, the International People's Democratic Uhuru movement, was founded for peace, Black power, and bring peace and Black power, and it's in our lifetime. So also Sunday rallies are once again every Sunday unless further notified, and we'll let you know if they will or will not be. You can also go to InPDUM.org if you need to know more, if you want to know more information with it. InPDUM.org, you can go to join, you can go to donate, or you can go to subscribe to get periodically updated information about the International People's Democratic Movement. And you can also catch us on YouTube. So we want to appreciate those people who are virtually on YouTube, or if you're watching on Facebook. And if you are virtual, please do let us know where you are watching from. If you're in Indiana, put it in the chat that you're in Indiana or St. Louis or wherever you are. And also feel free to ask questions in the chat, and we can entertain those questions as well as we entertain questions that are live. Before we go further with our program, just a couple of house notes. Housekeeping notes. We have our restrooms that are to our far right, women, and if you like, and there you go. So next we come up with the African Nation Fight Song. So we're going to ask everyone to please stand, and everyone make sure that you have a program. We have programs at the back of the sign-in registration table, so those who didn't register, please do register. The African Nation Fight Song, of course, it was written by Likia Ngoma, and the words and the lyrics are on the board. The African Nation Fight Song. Uhuru.
Africa, we are winning. Shout Uhuru. Patrice Lumumba's life won't be in vain. We are winning. Keep up the work in Marcus Garvey's name. We are winning. Independent and free is what we will be. We are winning. Africa will bask in our victory. We are winning. Long live the liberation of our African nation. Freedom to organization. Socialist world our creation. 1 billion strong, yes, we are one. We are winning.
Shake it up, let's get it. All right, comrades and Africans, we're going to go further into the program and we're going to talk about the 14-point platform in terms of political education. So we have the fourth point that we're discussing this week. And the fourth point of the 14-point platform comes from the African People's Socialist Party. You can find it in your burning spirits, which we do have on the back of the table. It is always in each of the burning spirits that come out. So, and after we read the points and have a little discussion, we will have 3 questions for the audience. 3 questions for the audience, and we have some little treats for those who get the correct answer. So get your sweet tooth ready. You got what you need. You got a little French door. Why got anything? Anyway, so point 4, we want the right to free speech and political association, a guarantee of the right to work for the betterment and emancipation of Black people without fear of political imprisonment and the loss of life, limb, and livelihood. We believe that the liberation of African people throughout the world will come primarily as a result of our own efforts. We believe it is our duty to our mothers, fathers, our children, and ourselves to organize ourselves to overcome our oppression. We believe that the rights to organize and speak out against our oppression are basic human rights, and that the U.S. government must discontinue its attempts to smash these rights and must discontinue criminal attacks on those African patriots who work for the betterment and the emancipation of our people. So right off the top, you have a couple of main points that we should be aware of that come about of this main point idea. The main points of idea 4 are we want to say what we want to say and associate with any group we want to, without fear of being sent to prison for our political ideas or losing our life, limb, and our livelihood. On that first point, you can see how clearly that played out in practice when the federal government tried to take the Uhuru court, and they lost on all counts because we got the freedom to talk what we want to. And we can say what we want to. We work for Black people, and of course, have approval. So check point 1 off done. We believe that we are our own liberators. This is part of the main idea. We believe that we are our own liberators, and it is our duty to organize ourselves to overcome our oppression. Of course, we see this is an example of this beautiful Papa Hall, which of course means welcome. Peace, Swahili. We're getting rid of the oppression, and we're doing it on our own hands, and to overcome oppression. Check 2. Our rights to organize and speak out are basic human rights. Of course, we're human, so that's automatic. That's a given. You gotta worry about that. That's checked off. The U.S. government must stop trying to take away these rights. Well, that one may be a little bit more difficult to achieve, but we did that. We go back to the first one. We check it. We try to take it. Check it. So all the points that the Uhuru movement, that the party put together, the Uhuru movement has accomplished. So we want our people to understand that these are real ideas that come into practice. They are theories, but they are very practical, real applications that the Uhuru movement has demonstrated in life. So now here's for the fun part. Okay, we got a couple of questions. So if you was paying attention, and I know you was, if you did put on your little thinking cap like you used to back in elementary. It is number one. It is our duty. It is our duty to A, fight for African liberation, B, organize to overcome our oppression, C, fight against the oppression of our parents, children, and people, or is it D, all of the above? Got the answer. Oh, we got an answer back there. What is it, little boy? All of the. Is she right? Wait a minute. We don't know if she's right or not. We don't know that. Come on up.
Uhuru.
And this is one of our resident parties in the community. And
Uhuru.
thank you. Right on, comrade. All right, number two. It is our basic human right to speak out against our oppression. A. B. Drive an SUV. Well, we don't. Go to the grocery store. We do that every day. None of the above. What's the answer? Who got the answer? What's up, okay? Hey, come on up. They got the answer. That's the right answer. Little sweet treat, get your little water on, get your little giveaway. All right. We sweet on you. Okay, number three. We have the right to struggle for our liberation without fear of political imprisonment, fear of loss of life and limb, fear of loss of livelihood. Who has the answer? And unfortunately, those online, you can type it in the chat. But that's okay. No. So who has the answer? Oh wait, no, you want us to know. You got the answer. You got the answer. Okay, let me stipulate the rules. Per contestant. Okay, what's the answer? Well, I can't answer because you know who said that. You got to raise your hand. Hey, what'd you say, Keith? Come on up and get it.
All right, all the above.
Right. We're gonna find today that deep political education gets. This is another resident culture man right here.
All right,
So for the culture in the house in St. Louis, okay. So this one will have to be some type of surprise. Okay, we want to thank you for concluding our political education at this time until next week. We once again went over point 4 of the 14-point platform of the African People's Socialist Party, and once again you can always find those points in the Burnsville newspaper, which we have on the back of the table, and you also can go to EPSP.org review those points. Okay, next we got coming up, we got a little culture, and this week we're going to bring forward our brother Gregory Reed. Actually, just one of the sweethearts. Gregory, he is a member of InPDUM. He also is a vendor of Amber Books, and he participates in the One Africa, One Nation Farmer Market, and he will be providing us with our cultural piece today. Comrade brother Gregory Reed.
Uhuru.
Brothers and sisters, contacts. Since this is Black History Month, just let me quickly give a little background on Black History Month. The reason I say this to my grandchildren, I'd ask them about the origins of Black History Month, and they sent a little text saying that President Clinton had February Black History Month. Now, to make it true, however, the origin of Black History Month was back in 26 with Dr. Carter D. Woodson. He formed what was called Negro History Week. And he established that during the month of February between the two presidents that at that time, the African Americans recognized, instrumental in maintaining some stability in the community. That was Washington and Lincoln. So that's how Black History Week, or Negro History Week began. In the late 60s, the early 70s, as a part of the Black Arts movement, and as our consciousness and awareness was raised, we knew that Black History Week was just not enough time to talk about the important issues that were happening in our community. And it just out of the weight of the people became the whole month of February. In fact, many of us at the end of the 70s were talking about a Black History Year. So that was a little background on Black History Month. So you know, it wasn't just the president, it was with the weight of the people. Just like Kwanzaa, just like Juneteenth. Those came about as a result of us demanding, without any outside, need for any outside recognition, hey, this is important for us as an African people, and we're going to celebrate it. So, if, as they look like they're trying to do, the government decided that they're no longer going to acknowledge Black History Month, we don't care.
Right.
Because we weren't getting the time there to recognize us as good.
Right.
It was with that in mind that I want to share a little story with you. In another life, I was a storyteller, and I want to tell you about this crayfish. Now, this was a one-called crayfish, and Brother Crayfish, he was running along the beach one morning, and he knew that if he was going to be of any value to the crayfish community, it was necessary for him to tell people physically, mentally, and spiritually. And especially since he only had one farm, he had to make sure that he was really physically strong. Now, one day as he was running along, he found himself being swept up in a big net. And he found himself tumbling in the air and falling the flood into a big old bucket. And he put on his bucket. So it was filled with all kinds of crustaceans. And he said, excuse me, well, can you tell me where I am and how we got here? And Brother Crab said, no, I don't know how we got here. But look, there's Brother Block over there, he's very smart. Why don't you ask him? So Brother Crab, he went over to my guy, Brother Lobson. Can you tell me where we are and how we got here? And Brother Block, no, I can't tell you, but here, I don't belong here. Look at all the crayfish over there. And Brother Crayfish looked, lo and behold, his brother sister was driving without him, but his father kind of went on down up there. And look like they went to the top, and put on food down. And another one over here, like they were to get to the top, and somebody pulled him down. Yes, and Brother Lobster, see, it's apparent that I don't belong here with all of them. Then he found out from brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters, what are you doing? We need to do something together. Let's put our minds together and see if we can figure out a way to get out of here. Yeah, he said, said we work together. Said, "Lots of work. What kind of work do you do? You ain't got but one car." And he only had one car. So he went right back, all of them, pulling one down, all of them, pulling one down. He said, well, Brother Lobster, if we work together, well, we can climb him up on your back. Brother Lobster, and what? Climb on my back? Nobody climb on my back. Oh, no, that won't be happening here. Brother Lobster walked on the way to climb on my back like I'm one of them. Listen, I have an idea. You and I work together. You can climb up on my back and I'll push you to the edge of the bucket. what? No, that might work, but I can get out, but how do I do it? He said, that's what it's saying. But or brother, crazy, did the brother pad, but then brother pad got right again to that. That one strong. Big pad with that rock. And the way the brother pad, pull both of them right on out of the bucket. And they fell on the sand with the flood. And they dusted themselves off. They gave one another a big old hug. And went back to the work. And brother pad, little patient, all the pad inside the bucket. They dumped into a big old pot of boiling water. And brother Lobster, he was dumping there too, just like all of them. So brothers and sisters, if we continue to work together, we use our creativity and our minds, we will continue, as we've seen with Uhuru 3 and with the bakery, we will continue to win. Right.
Uhuru! 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 Yes, Uhuru!
I did learn a lot in that, yeah, that was pretty good. I gotta taste a lot more. So, okay, so moving forward with the program, comrades, we want to thank you once again for that culture. That was outstanding. All right, so next we're going to look at a clip. This clip was taken from an O'Malley taught me about 6 years ago. 6 years ago, and there's also some excerpts that was taken out of the book, Not One Step Backwards, the Black Liberation Movement from 1971 to 1982. Okay, so this is a transcript. It's a presentation that Chairman O'Malley gave at the AESP banquet, the banquet that was held in Atlanta, Georgia. What is that? Atlanta, Georgia. And so we're going to cue it up, and the concept, of course, we were talking about the theme. Once you go back to the theme, once again, African love and how African internationalism manifests itself, we're going to deepen the whole concept around what this love is. And we're going to take a look at it from an African internationalist perspective, an African internationalist lens. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. And when we get through that, we'll come back to deepen it further with some more discussion. Uhuru.
This is how it begins on page 103 from the book, Not One Step Backward. Everybody should have this text, and it reads, what I want to talk about is different from what we've been talking about in the recent past, which is one of the reasons we need to talk about it. What we need to talk about is love. We need to talk about love for a number of reasons. Partially because of the kind of contradictions we see occurring within our communities throughout this country. These contradictions have their basis in history. Some of it we call natural history. That is to say, history that flows from the natural consequences of Black people coming together to try to procure those things necessary for our existence. Some of them are unnatural contradictions in the sense that they are contradictions which flow from having a foreign power imposed on our lives, so that everything that happens within an attempt to develop is distorted and does not happen naturally. There is no way that a colonial and subject people can live a natural existence. There is absolutely no way for that to be true. These contradictions, and I think it's important to say that because we have certain expectations in our lives and for our lives and for our communities and for our people and for our young people and for women and men and et cetera, that's based on a narrative that's created by our oppressors for the most part. That sets the standard, the template of what is normal, what should be. I remember growing up as a child and people who involved in this discussion would be too young to remember, but there was this show of Ozzie and Harriet, which was the ideal family, and it was a white family, the Nelsons, Ozzie and Harriet Nelson. I would watch this family, and I would feel disgusted with my own situation, because our family never sat down, or seldom sat down together, and we'd all eat at the same table, and Dad, would drop gems of wisdom at the table, and Mom would be there pristine and fresh and what have you. Presiding, the matriarch presiding over the situation. We never had that stuff. I mean, my mama was working all the time, and my daddy was working all the time, and often we end up, we'd fix it ourselves, and sometimes, as compared to the Nelsons, I mean, we lived in a house when I was a child, where literally you could be in bed and look up and see through, cracks in the ceilings and stuff like that. That was quite different from Ozzie and Harriet. But Ozzie and Harriet was a standard that had been established for what a family should be, and that was the norm as we understood it. It was something that we could never live up to, and so that left a certain taste in our mouths and a certain negative assumption about who we were as Africans, even though there was no statement that Africans are horrible because you don't live like Ozzie and Harriet. They didn't have to make the statement that said, this is normal. This is normal. And then if we didn't live up to that norm, the statement was implicit there. So we say these contradictions manifest themselves as contradiction between our young people and old people. We've seen that for a person of my generation. That's a very interesting and serious kind of contradiction. A person of our generation remembers a period when if you said something wrong or bad, if you said something wrong to an old person, an old African, you understood that something bad was going to happen to you. That was a way we showed a great deal of respect for our elders. So this contradiction that appeared to be between old people and young people was extraordinary and foreign. I mean, as a child, I remember even if I thought bad things about an old person, I wondered if something horrible was going to happen to me. That was the most incredible thing, to think something bad or say something bad about an older person. So living with this contradiction, for persons of my generation in particular, this contradiction that appeared to exist between old and young people was phenomenal. Contradictions exist in our community between African men and African women. Women are responding to very, very real material phenomenon in the world which oppresses women in a fashion that, when it is not understood, deepens the contradiction in our community. We see men, African men, who don't understand who we are, but sometimes who do understand who we are and who our enemy is, and rather than face and deal with that, because it is a terribly dangerous confrontation, provoke serious contradictions with women in our community, creating a very unnatural situation. So there are a lot of contradictions in our community between our people throughout the world. There are contradictions, and many of these make it difficult at this juncture in our history to talk about such a thing as love. Another thing that makes it difficult to talk about such a thing as love, and which obviously has affected those of us involved in the progressive pro-independence movement, has been our recent attempt to deal with struggles scientifically and the influence on our movement by the ideological imperialists, by those North American forces who have considered themselves scientists and who, based on their understanding of the world, reject very seriously the concept of love as having any kind of influence in struggle. And I mentioned this is 1978 when this was written, and the party was involved itself in a very serious struggle to try and introduce the issue of science into our movement. But there was also this contest that the movement was having at the same time with the forces that we call ideological imperialists. Sometimes we call them Ku Klux communists. These were white people, mostly young people, mostly students who would descend from the ivory towers and come to our communities to try and lead us to freedom and bring science to our movement, and who despised almost everything that we were doing, but they were going to bring enlightenment and teach us how to have a scientific approach. And according to their scientific approach, often they would tell us that that love is not important, that emotions are not important, and that what we must have is a scientific theory. And it is true, we must have a scientific theory. In fact, one of the reasons we were so easily moved, that is to say, the black movement was so easily moved negatively around the question of love, is because we had allowed ourselves for a very long period to talk about freeing ourselves based on emotions and the way we feel or the way we felt. Quote, we are going to be free because we are black, we are bad, unquote. So we said, but there was nothing scientific about that. And it didn't give us any kind of information that was going to provide any leadership for our struggle. So we are in a very interesting situation. Love is not a thing that is talked about very much. But we should not have a problem saying that we are motivated in our struggle because we love our people. We shouldn't have a problem saying that. Prior to that juncture in our history, when the back of the black liberation movement was broken, our warriors killed and arrested, and the struggle in our community defined by people who were external to our community, by people who did not have a material interest in our community, by people, as Malcolm might say, who don't look like us, people who obviously have a different understanding of who we are and who we are, and whether we should love ourselves and each other. We know though, that prior to all of these occurrences, we did talk about love. We don't talk about this too much anymore, but we should not be ashamed of that. Malcolm X talked about love a little bit. I remember a speech that he made in Harlem where he said, tomorrow, they're going to be saying that Malcolm X is talking hate talk. But this is not hate talk, this is love talk. I wouldn't tell you these things if I didn't love you, unquote. This is what Malcolm X said. And that's true. It's a thing that we have to keep before us, that there is nothing wrong with loving people, with loving our people. Another fellow who was external to our movement and who had many African people confused at one juncture so that they wanted to be Afro-Argentinians and Afro-Cuban, said something about love. His name was Che Guevara, and it's a poor paraphrase, but he said, quote, at the risk of sounding ridiculous, I have to say that revolutionaries are motivated by great feelings of love, unquote, and that is true. Because you can't do the things that we do simply based on an ideological truth. We can't do the kind of struggle that I've seen our comrades do. When I say struggle, I don't mean necessarily something that is intense and happens quickly and is over soon. That may have to do with life or death, although I saw that as well. I'm talking about the kind of struggle that lasted 3 and 4 years of not having enough to eat, not having a place to stay, not having friends and comrades to be with, but doing the work for black people. I'm talking about the period defined as a lull, when it's not exciting to do the work with the masses. Comrades from our party worked and struggled during this period, and as a result of not having the resources, having jaws that look like inverted eggs, sunken from being hungry, simple ideology would not allow us to have the strength to do that. Ideology is good because it informs our practice and tells us how to move and around what questions we ought to move. There's a practical application of the theory, but ideology alone cannot do that. And this is 1978, and this is in Atlanta, and this is a time when in Atlanta, the party worked in an area called Vine City. That is a historic community in Atlanta. At one time, even Garvey's Liberty Hall was located in Vine City. And in Vine City, the work we did, we lived often in collectives, sometimes literally, that that didn't even have doors on hinges, you would leave and lean the door up on the wall and the entrance, and take it down to enter and to leave and put it back up, that kind of thing. And where at junctures where the government would come and turn off the water because we didn't pay the bill. And then as soon as they left, of course, we'd go and turn the water back on. And we had these kinds of battles, and people went without resources. And that's because their commitment was really to overturning the contradictions of our people, making this revolutionary movement for black people. And you can't do that if you don't have a deep and profound love for the people. And ideology, of course, informs us about how that should be articulated in the world, but one has to have that kind of commitment. And there's always an attack, a war going on African people against our self-regard. There's always a war that's being made against our self-regard. But these comrades who you won't read about Sabir. You won't read about these comrades who worked in Atlanta under these kinds of circumstances and other places where the party was located. I mean, when I first went to Atlanta to organize on a permanent basis, I just had a phone number and a contact, no money. I had a big red Samsonite suitcase filled with books that I traveled everywhere with. And the sister who I stayed with, I looked in a refrigerator hoping to find some food, and the only thing in there was an apple. And it was rotten. So, I mean, but we did this work. Mwala Kefing was there with us. We did this work under these kinds of circumstances, but one had to have a real deep and profound commitment of love. And we had love discussions. I mean, Kefing and I and other comrades talk about the love for the people and appreciation for the people, and that's what informed us. That's what sent Kefing out almost every day with the Burning Spear newspaper. He said, if you got nothing to do, you feel demoralized, pick up a stack of Burning Spear newspapers and go out to the mass and sell the paper, and you'll see how quickly your morale is raised and what it means to God and express this expression of love for African people. We know many professors who can quote ideological positions and formulations much better than our comrades can, but they don't have the love for the people that makes it possible to do the kinds of things that our comrades have done, the kinds of things we just saw in the process of building the Youth Committee for Justice for James Daniels. James Daniels was an African here. His name was Willie James Daniels. That's what I'm talking about. Is it Willie James Daniels that I'm thinking about? Who was murdered by the police in St. Petersburg, Florida. And, we organized around those, that in very serious and difficult kind of circumstances. And we were confronted all the time with Africans who didn't have the capacity to love themselves. And in this instance, I'm talking about people who were called leaders, who, when James Daniel was murdered by the police, who show up in the back seat of the police car because Africans have gathered ready to do something about it. And the role of the so-called leaders was to come and make Africans and quell any kind of disturbance, to suppress the resistance of the African population. That was not love of African people. That was commitment and relationship to the state. That was love of white power, love of white people, and in fact, it was being flattered by the fact that the police would ask them to ride in the car and come to suppress the resistance of the people. But those people who we were organizing, those young people and others who were responding, that was love, because the police, you got to remember, the police had killed Daniels. That means it was a clear demonstration of the willingness of the police to kill you. And yet, here we had these young people who would organize against the same police that demonstrate that we are killers, we will kill you, we will wipe you out. It took love for our community and for our people and for Willie James Daniels, for people to be able to do that. That's the kind of thing that we are talking about. We're talking about families and communities who've made that kind of commitment. And that's bigger than our own personal individual interests. The reason that the things these youth do is so striking is because those comrades are young, finger-popping comrades. These are not folk who came out of some monastery or nunnery or whatever you call places where nuns be, young finger popping, beat bopping comrades who every night been selling fish sandwiches, been passing out leaflets, been knocking on doors, been confronting the police department and the power of the state because of the rage that they feel and the love that they feel for black people around the death of James Daniels. See, we need to talk about love sometimes. You see, when we talk about science, we have to understand science from a perspective that speaks from the development of our own people. Science is not innocent. There is a perspective, a scientific perspective that will have you in the face of starvation, poverty of masses of people around the world, in the face of people who are struggling to free themselves from imperialist power. There's a science that comes that will build an atomic bomb to make sure that you dominate the world and keep people oppressed and living in starvation and intimidated. That's a science. But that's not a science that speaks to the interests of the masses of people and certainly not to the interests of African people. Science in our possession would feed, clothe, and house our people and destroy our enemies so that we can have, so the whole people can be free. So they say science and mean one thing, and we say science and mean something else. We have to talk about it from the perspective of an historical development of our own people. See, sometimes it's difficult for people to love themselves, and you know that. Anybody who's ever been in prison and sat down in the day room where the TV is and watched the police gangster pictures and saw the people who are in prison cheer the police when they come upon the scene. I mean, it's a mind-blowing thing. Here are prisoners cheering the police. Anybody who's ever had the experience of black people telling us while we're doing work that I don't want to hear none of that black stuff. Sometimes it's hard for people to love themselves. It's hard to love yourself when you recognize and when you cannot get around the understanding that you ought to be taking care of yourself and doing for yourself, but you're not, and that somebody is taking care of themselves at your expense. It's hard to love yourself when you know Desi Woods is locked down for nothing because of the politics, because of the colonialist ideology within this country, and you can't free her. It's hard to love yourself when you know that Geronimo Pratt and Sundiata Acoli and Assata Shakur and Graham and Allen have no reasons for being in these prisons, and they're there. And you have to look at your wife and your husband every day. It's hard to be able to rise to do it, and it's hard to love yourself. And then you live in a country such as this country or such as any capitalist country in the world, where there are no such things as unfettered human relations, where human relations, just as any other situation in the world, are shaped and defined by the kind of production process that goes on, where everything has a price, even love. Because you don't love me because I gave you this much love yesterday and you only gave me this much love today. Everything has a price. Everything is measured in terms of quantity. All of our relationships are affected that way so that they take on the character of things, even human relations. And we can say things, we can even say commodities. So it's necessary to talk about love a little bit, because that's part of the reason why we are here and we do the things that we do. We do them in part because we love ourselves. This was the fantastic discovery that a lot of people who are here right now made in 1966, that it was all right with us to love ourselves. That was the thing that made black is beautiful such an energizing slogan, when it should not have meant too much, because everybody black should have understood that black was beautiful. But everybody didn't understand that, because the whole world defined it as grotesque and not beautiful. We first love ourselves. It's loving ourselves that makes it possible to struggle. It's self-love that makes it possible for people to come together to acquire the things that we need to exist in the world. If human beings did not love ourselves, we wouldn't do that, and our species would not be on the face of the earth today. There would be no human species, but it is our self-love that motivates human beings to plow the earth, to grow something to eat, to cut down the tree, to make a shelter, to chase animals, and and to take the pelt to cover our bodies. It was out of self-love that we did that and developed our use of hands so that we could do it better. And consequent to that, even the use of speech and the capacity to have rational thought, to express things with each other. If we didn't love each other, if we didn't love ourselves, the species would not be on the face of the earth. We wouldn't have chased the rabbit to eat. We wouldn't have done any of the things which were demanded if we were going to survive. It's that fact, in part, this self-love that acts as a kind of motive force in history, because it's while we are in the process of acquiring those things which are necessary for us, that we develop techniques so that we now don't just cut down a tree to make a lean-to protect ourselves from the elements, but we have construction companies, we have machines, as I say, there are machines, which make it possible for those things to be done. So in a fashion, self-love is obviously responsible for that. You know, there are some people, there are at different times some forces which were almost exterminated because their own love for self was not great enough to resist not only their natural elements, but various other forces in the world which were destroying human life. We are still here and in great numbers, and we are going to be here in great numbers, going to free ourselves to the extent we learn that it's all right to love ourselves. When we talk about love, we also have to talk about human consciousness, because consciousness is one of the things which distinguishes us as human beings from other animals. You know, if you left out the capacity for emotions, there's not much that distinguishes human beings from any other animal. But it is consciousness that helps us to make that distinction. And it is consciousness which makes such a unique thing as human relations. All animals have relations, and human beings have the same relations that many other animals have in life. But there are some relations which are peculiar, which only human beings can have, because in human relations there is love and a capacity to love. All animals must copulate if the species is going to continue, but only human animals can have a love relationship, because that presupposes consciousness. Only human animals can have a love relationship, because it is that love relationship that makes a difference in the recreation or reproduction of the species by other animals and human beings. It is that love, that capacity to have a love relationship that makes it absolutely necessary for us to struggle and free ourselves. I think we may have more clarity today around the capacity of other animals to experience some of the emotions that we are talking about here. I mean, we know that we've seen that in some animals like elephants and primates and other things. We've seen that. We've seen people mourn the loss of their children. That is, say, other animals mourn that, and the loss of their mates and stuff like that, and actually retaliate on human beings for doing horrible things to them. So we understand that a bit better, but regardless the position, the point that we want to make here about the significance of love, and even as it's attached to what we would characterize as human consciousness, continues to prevail. There are such things as consciousness and love. That is important for us to understand, because when we are conscious lovers, we unite that theory, that emotion, that abstract thing called love with the things that we do. We don't just love in the abstract. How many times have you heard somebody say, you can't be loving me not the way you carry on, right? You can't love me. We know people who say, I love you. Here in the U.S., people talk all the time about democracy and human rights, but you and I are, as conscious human beings, know that it is a lie, because there's a difference in what the U.S. articulates and what it does. The same thing, of course, is true with conscious love. If you love for real, then you do certain kinds of things which are manifestations of that love. You can't love somebody on the one hand and then bust them in the eye every day on the other hand. Although I know someone who said, you can't love me because you never hit me. But that's the confusion. That's the way sometimes the conditions that we are faced with in this world today distort our understanding of what is real, what is necessary. It's important for us to talk here about love and conscious love, especially the people who are in here, because when we talk about love for the people, we are making a distinction between love for the people and love for ourselves as individuals. And I think that's extremely important. And we'll say some things moving forward around that, kinds of examples that we need to look at in order to come to, I think, a revolutionary perspective of love and what love is about. I mean, Che Guevara made that statement to the effect that revolutionaries are motivated by great feelings of love. And I remember I spoke at Oxford 55 years after Malcolm X spoke there. He spoke there December 3rd, 1964. And I read recently, prior to going to Oxford, that Malcolm X was asked by one of the people, one of the students from the Oxford Union, of what he saw in terms of the future. And Malcolm X said that I expect to be dead. I'm going to be killed. I mean, how in the hell can he make that statement? How can he go to Oxford, make the incredible presentation he made at Oxford, and then make the statement that I'm going to be killed and still do what the hell he was doing? I mean, it really takes a commitment, a love for the people. Otherwise, he could have gone home. He could have gone someplace else. He could have quit. He could have bowed out of the situation, but he didn't. And then people who didn't love the people, didn't love the revolution, were able to work with an enemy government, state, enemy power, who was also impressed by Malcolm X, just as the Oxford Union was impressed by Malcolm X, and killed him. There is love and there's love. I mean, we sometimes we look at Martin Luther King. Anybody who saw Martin Luther King speak, I think it was the night before he was killed. I knew that Martin Luther King knew that he was going to be killed. They had been threatening him. They had even sent messages and tapes telling him to commit suicide and things like that. And there was no doubt. But he was able to say, I've been to the mountaintop, right? And I've looked across and say, and I saw freedom. And I may not get there with you. I may not get there with you, but I know that my people, that we as a people will be free. I mean, that's the kind of love that we're talking about in the face of even recognizing.
Fight back! Fight back! Uhuru!
So we just heard a little excerpt from the chairman on love and how it is viewed through the lens of African internationalism. That was part one of the keynote address, deepening the political education of this concept of love. So next we're going to, and we're doing actually good on time. So we're going to bring up Comrade Westbrook, who's going to give us a presentation as a representative of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement local president. Uhuru.
He's related to
Africa.
Africa.
He's related to Africa.
That's one.
Touch y'all.
That's one. Uhuru. First, I want to acknowledge and salute my leadership, Chairman Wallace Giselle, Deputy Chair, Owner Giselle, and our President, Dr. Holden. I am Westbrook, and it's an honor to be speaking before you, and I promise you I won't be long at all. If you could just give me 10, 15 minutes of your time, I'll be great. We know that the holiday of Valentine's just passed, and I could not help but to think that love don't seem to be the same. I'm talking about the old school love. I'm talking about the love that was the bedrock of the Black family in community. Even the chairman spoke of the concept of the broken love, miscategorized as love, true love, or real love. When he stated, quote, "You can't love someone on one hand and bust them over the eye on the other hand," unquote. Chairman also speaks about many contradictions within the Black family and community throughout the world from horizontal violence. We can just look around and see the hate in our community. Sometimes we just might feel it too. From abusive relationships, gang wars, mobs of Black youth fighting against rival high schools, so on and so forth. This made me think about why there's so much hate among us. Why do we hate ourselves? Why do we hate ourselves? When I started contemplating that thought, Malcolm X came to mind, and I quote, "Who taught you to hate your texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such a extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to so much that you hate being around each other? No. Before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you? We teach love. We teach you to love the her God gave you. End quote, unquote. But speaking of love, I can remember in a film that Chairman speaking spoke to dealing with, quote, dealing with this struggle scientifically. We must move with a scientific theory, but based in love. The Chairman realized this way back in 78. And you, way back in 78. And you also heard the Chairman speak on moving forward around the kinds of examples that we need to look at in order to come to a revolutionary perspective of love. And he also said that he remembered Che Guevara statements to the effects that revolutionaries is motivated by the great feeling of love. Chairman says we should not have a problem saying we are motivated in love for our people. Let me say that again. I said, Chairman said we should not have a problem saying that we are motivated in love, struggle because we love our people. We shouldn't have that problem. We shouldn't have that. So as I was trying to figure out this thing called love that the Chairman was speaking about, I started searching for examples and I kept coming up short. Especially when we look at this relationship type of love. Because we know that that's one of the lowest frequencies of love. We know that in most cases, this is the type of love that's attached to hidden agendas and secret motives. In most cases, one gets in relationships because of the needs of one another. You being here is predicated on what I can do for you, or can you supply my needs? Whether it's sexual, financial, to feel secure and stable, or in some cases, I don't need you to do anything besides be there in a time of need when I need someone to call on. But once this once you cease to fill the void, the individual ceases to be there. Once you stop, like I said, filling the void, they gone. They gone. Now, any type of love that's predicated on what I can do for you could go to hell. Because I don't want that type of love. In layman's terminology, this might be referred to as fake love. So I had to think about who or what is the perfect example of love. What'd you come up with? I give it with God. God is the perfect example of love. because we know that God so loved the world. You know what? I will hold that piece of pie for broadcast. So I want to see what the Bible says about love, and I'm pleased to say that I found some examples, but I'm just gonna name it. Just gonna name it. And we know that the first commandment of God is what? Love thy God. You know, the second commandment is what? Love thy neighbor as thyself. And if you decide, if you was to read and break down about hermeneutics in the Bible, you'll see roughly 7 type of styles of love. One is like, it's just a few of them. Filial love is some type of friendly love. Filial love is like an affectionate type of love. You might have eros love, which is like some type of romantic love. But some folks sometimes box lust within that. And you got agape love. I could continue on, but I want to stop at agape. Because we know agape love is the highest form of love or charity. It's the love for God for humans and of humans for God. This is in contrast to self-love. This is the type of love that's sacrificial, that's transcend and persist regardless of circumstances. It can be given undeservedly, unconditionally, and even everlasting. Some sources speak that in the New Testament, agape refers to the covenant love of God for humans as well as humans' reciprocal love of God. But this term necessarily extends to the love of one fellow human being. Some contemporary writers and others sought to extend this use of agape love into non-religious contexts, what I'm attempting to do today. And if you actually look up the definition of agape, it states many things, but one is literally a translation of agape love. It says it is expressed by fighting for social justice. It is getting involved in community, having compassion. Having compassion. This is this thing called love. This is the thing called love. So as I close, I told you I ain't want too much of your time. I just want a few minutes. So as I close, the International People Democratic Uhuru Movement is comprised of revolutionaries, community organizers, academia and intellectual, volunteers, and all around forces to be reckoned with. InPDUM has fought fiercely for the African community. We have fought for the Black community control of the police. We have fought for the control of education while protecting the budget cuts and school closing in our communities. We have fought for the Keep 28 and the removal of the NGA off stolen African lands. We have fought for the justice for African victims of police brutality. We have defended the rights of African people to resist colonial oppression. We have fought many times and won to overturn the full apartheid in the city of St. Louis on the north side. But not only that, we fought to bring back Black economics to our community wherever you are located globally.
Yes.
Now that's love.
Yes.
I think that's agape love. That's the type of love that love period. It's love just because. It's without secret agenda. It's absent without motives. Oh my, come on now. It is unconditional. It is given freely without expectation or reciprocity. It is selfless. It is giving for the good of others without personal gain. It is empathetic. can have empathy for others. It is sacrificial. It is the type of love that sacrifices for the good of someone else, even if they're strangers. That sounds like God. That sounds like God so loved the world. He gave his only begotten son that died for you and I. No! That sounds like Sherman, who loved his people so much, he gave majority of his life for the masses of Africans he doesn't know. Just for the sake of freedom. That sounds like Sherman, who loved the people. He decided for the revolutionary organization more than 5+ decades ago to win our liberation. Now that's the type of love, African internationalist type of love that we must display we must display towards the liberation of our people.
Yes,
Uhuru.
yes, yes. Uhuru! Uhuru! That's one!
That's all.
That's one!
That's all.
Uhuru!
One Africa.
One nation!
One nation.
One Africa!
One Reverend Westbrook. All right, comrade.
Uhuru!
Appreciate that. And so we hope that can help deepen the understanding of what love is, the African internationalist perspective of it, hearing from the architect of African internationalism,
Uhuru!
then hearing from the disciple of African internationalism, and bringing it all home, making it more palatable for everyone to understand and consume. So next up, we have call for resources and leadership. Comrade, hopefully, come on up.
Uhuru! Right, right!
Thank you, Reverend. Oh, Conrad. Whew. Okay. Now it's time for you to show some love. And be in this fight that we are constantly finding ourselves in. One situation or another, one person or another has dealt or is dealing with something because we've all been colonialized. And what is colonialized? Somebody with their foot on your neck, and they've had their foot on our neck for 600+ years. And it's time to kick it off. Okay? Our goal today is $150. And you can go to Cash App, $ InPDUM. You'll see it'll say InPDUM IEC. That's the correct one. You can go to impedum.org/donate if you want to use your credit card. Or you can do cash right there with Conrad Ikenge. The money that we collect are right in your face. We got this beautiful hall. We're warm when it's cold outside, like now. We're cool when it's hot outside, like it will be. We got lights to see. We got internet for our videos and pictures, and we've got this place that is nice, and nothing is free because guess what? We don't take government money. You take money from the government, they're gonna try to tell you what to do with it. So we can tell them what to do with it. Okay? Like I said, our goal today is $150. Now that's one way you can be a part of this fight back. Another way is by membership. You've heard about InPDUM. We meet you at the door, wherever you are, and show you how to fight. Give you political education so you'll know why you fight. We want to just not throw something in your face and say, do this. We want to get inside of you and open your mind to the fact that this is the reason you could do this if you choose. See, we're not making you become members. We're telling you it's a choice. It is your choice to be a volunteer for the cause of your own family, of yourself, of your neighbors, of your people that you don't know. Because guess what? That's love. It's to give outside of yourself. To do that, you have to go inside of yourself and know what you're fighting for. Me, I got this 3-year-old grandson I'm fighting for, cause he's gonna have a future. And my goal is for him to have a liberated future.
Uhuru.
And I've got these grown grandchildren, woo-hoo, 25, 20. I got a niece, 21. I want them to have a world better than ours. Better than ours. And the only way that can happen if we do that right here and work for it every day. I know you know somebody that you love, or somebody that you're responsible for, and you want them to do better. And you want them to do better because it's inside of you to want that for people. Besides, if they do better, guess what? That leaves you room to do better, because you don't have to worry about them. You can take care of yourself and do what you want to do. And know that they take care of. But if you have to hold a person's hand and always have to fix things, then you don't have any time for yourself. But you do know that if you set it up for them to be independent, and you know they're gonna take that step on their own, they're gonna have a better world, because we're gonna make it happen starting today. Okay? Every day you wake up, you looking at the future, because you open your eyes and you say to yourself, now what? What can I do so when my grandchildren open their eyes, they can do better and have more than they're dealing with today?
Yeah.
Okay? Because guess what? They gonna have kids.
Yep.
We don't want them to get old, but guess what? We getting old too. So you got to leave something for them to work with. You got to leave something for them to say, you know, my grandmother was a revolutionary.
Yes.
And because she worked like she did,
Mhm.
because she did what she did, this is her name right here in the books, in the history books. They're not gonna let your name go without being repeated again and again and again. So be in the history books. Show them you love them enough to help them to have a better future.
Uhuru.
Okay? So who is not a member of InPDUM in here?
All right.
Okay, two.
Two.
Okay. Well, to you two people, I know one of them.
Look at Sam.
Well, okay. You can join InPDUM. This is for 1 year, 1 year subscription. You can be started at the basic level is now $25, even though we need to change that.
All right.
Okay, we're gonna keep it at 10 right now, so you look. $10 for the basic level, and you can get all the amenities of members that come in with $1,000. You have no less membership power than they do. If you know somebody that the George Jackson and Betty Wood level is for incarcerated members. Might say something? For incarcerated members, or if you know somebody, which we all can, you know, figure somebody out that we know, that's incarcerated, that you want them to know what's going on in the world outside of where they are. So when they come out, they'll have a grasp on what is happening in the world today. That's a $5 incarcerated membership that you can get to them. And Musa Bantu level membership, that's $10, but that's for the unemployed and for the people that are in school. If you're in it, if you're a student or you're unemployed in between jobs, okay, you can get in between that job for $10 now. And when you get paid, if you want to do more, you can. But you can become a member and start being educated about your political education, your political rights. My main question when I became an InPDUM member was, why? I want to know why. Everywhere I looked, people of color was not living the best life. They were on top of each other. They were worried about everyday food, clothes, shelter. After you get that, there's no time for anything else. But this, I want to know why. And I heard Chairman speak the first time, and I was convinced there's more to come from there. So that's when I became a member.
Uhuru.
And it's been 11 years.
Mhm.
Time flies.
Yeah.
Time flies. And I'm still learning. I am still learning. So become a member of InPDUM. If you don't want to become a member yet and know that you want to be a member, guess what? Just stick around and volunteer. You know what? If you can pay, you can't pay with the money, you can offer your time and your self as a volunteer. You can choose how often you want to volunteer. You can choose you want to volunteer twice a month or for 2 hours every 2 weeks. So whatever level of volunteer is the same type of membership that you can do within InPDUM. Yeah, we're gonna ask you to do different things, but we don't know what you can do unless you let us know, okay? Either as a member or volunteer. And with that, I'll come back and let you know if we reached our goal.
Uhuru.
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 That's what love looks like.
Uhuru.
All right, thank you, Comrade Opie, and thank you everyone for making your contribution, showing your love with green. And those who are online, don't forget, you can donate. We are accepting donations that way. We know that our online viewers, they also outstanding donators, and they have been throughout the year. So we want to thank you for your past, present, and future contribution, as well as those who are in attendance. So at this point, we're going to open it up for some Q&A. And we will have any questions that come online, please let us know. Chat moderator will be sure to capture those. This is the discussion, community discussion time. Questions you may need to pose on and give some answers to it. And I'll start it off with one thing. You know, I have one little treat that we got to give out to somebody. So, you know, we have been talking about the 14-point platforms, and we've been talking about that for a while, one way or the other, but we're doing it in an organized manner. So I'm just going to jump ahead. The 14th point of the 14-point platform is inspired. What or who is the inspiration which that point comes? You missed the question? The 14th point of the 14-point platform is inspired by who? We'll put it like that. Where does that point come from? The point? Think a little. What's up, man? Go, come on, girl. What you doing? Cheating back there. You know about it. You know that. Yeah, and too bad it wasn't like popcorn. Why didn't nobody else raise their hand? I'm studying what it is. Thank you, Uhuru. Yes, and you know that 14 point, if one could be like that, that's my favorite point. But it talks about unification and liberation, because all the points to us, we have some discussion, they lead up to what end. The 14th point says to what end? One unified social Africa. Is that right? All right. So make sure you study all the points, but know what the end result is. All right. So now, are there any questions that we might have online? And we're gonna have some questions from the audience and further discussion. Inside the auditorium, please do come to this mic to my right before you. Questions, answers, discussion. What's love got to do with it? What's African internationalism got to do with it? You clear on everything? Everybody clear? I don't know. So, I think though, one of the things that we saw with the presentation, two things about the agape love, that's all love, unconditional, that's true, but it also is reflected inside of the presentation that the chairman gave. But there's a little section of that clip that we didn't see, but it magnifies the concept of love, because what he does, the chairman talks about at that particular time, he talks about what had happened to Patrice Lumumba. So just to jump the story here, we know that Patrice Lumumba at this particular time that he's talking about it was on house arrest. So Patrice Lumumba is getting the word that his family is in jeopardy. He had his wife and his 2 children at another location. So he, knowing that he should not have left, or knowing that if he left his house of detention, what could happen? And we know the tragedy. And so what it was he went to rescue his family, to save his family. He had the opportunity to so-called go to freedom or to escape, if you will. So what did he do? He chose the side, and it was a matter of love. So torn between it, I would imagine he torn between, you know, the so-called greater love or the nuclear family or the biological family, but nevertheless, it shows love. So what he did, he went back to save his family because he didn't want the neo-colonists and the imperialists to to do any harm to his children and his wife. So he took the bullet, so to speak, literally. So he did demonstrate some type of love and then determine action question. What would have happened had he escaped and went to the other side? Of course, we don't know. But it's a testament, it's a philosophical issue, and it's really deep to say, would you sacrifice your loved one, your wife, or your children for revolutionary activity, or would you not? So would you have ran to freedom? We think that it could have been, you never know. Would you have ran to jump on the other side of the fence, or would you have stayed in the yard and deal with what you would have had to deal with? And it's a fundamental question, it's a philosophical question, it's a deep question that confronts us all in one way or the other. And like the chairman talked about, and so many other people talk about. One of the things that Kwame Nkrumah talked about, just mentioned, that the reason that he wasn't tied to somebody romantically at an early age because he felt that it could hinder him, and it became a quagmire in his mind. But of course, I say many people say the only reason that he really got married to Nasser's daughter was political. So he served some political. They had some children out of that too, so some kind of love going on. But so you think of these things, and you got to know: is there any sacrifice that one will make? You got to ask that question, because a lot of comrades and a lot of people have sacrificed their family for a lot of things. I think of someone that used to live in St. Louis who passed on. Some of you may not know about it, but you should. His name was Berkeley Gilbert, and at one time it was Berkeley Gilbert Bond. But Berkeley Gilbert, we just call her the mother of love, she was one who was on the front line, and actually she had so much love for the people that she was able to help them take over the Cochrane projects and put it under tenant management and put it in the hands of the people. And she did a whole lot for that. And matter of fact, there's academic things that look at her model of how to organize in the community. And she was a former Black Panther and things like that. Had to go to Chicago. But anyway, her love demonstration as the same thing. She would sacrifice her family and her, one of her husbands or what have you, love her, what have you, wanted to know, you're going to give up the movement and you're going to be that wife, you're going to be here cooking, barefooted and all that type of jazz. No, you got it twisted. You can see the door, I'm going the other way, you're going to do for the revolution. So you got examples of how revolutionary love manifests itself throughout the community in different aspects. So, those are some of the things. So anyone online with any questions and answers? And we will make an interjection because a little bit later on the program, we got to make another announcement that wasn't made. We get to that a little bit later. So further discussion. And if not, we will give a final total. We'll have Conrad Foley come back and give a final total of the resources raised. Have it opened up for any further discussion. Stop, fight back. Stop, fight back. And of course, our goal was $150 today, so we know that we will have that. And in addition to that, while we're doing that, okay, and our people come up with holidays and commemorations, and one of the things that came to mind was February 13th is considered Black Love Day. Now, out of the chaos comes certain things. So back in 1993, this young boy, he was a teenage boy, lived in Washington, D.C. He died as a result of horizontal violence. So his mother, a lady named Oya Handy Kendi, had started this concept called Black Love in Washington, D.C. So she went on, she was already an activist in the community. So she continued to do the peace type of thing and bring the communities together and to try to fight the bickering and things of that nature. And so generally it's a commemoration, of Black love that's on February 13th of each year. And you can commemorate it any kind of way. They got it kind of loosely defined. You can watch a video on it, on Black love and things of that nature, but they do have at least 5 tenets of what they consider to be Black love. So one of the tenets is, it says, love, the 5 tenets: love of the Creator, love of self, love of family, love within the African community, and love for the African nation. All those tenets were somewhat discussed and hit upon in this Sunday rally. Although it talks about Black love, we want to always just deepen the discussion and give it the proper identity, because we're talking about African love. That is somewhat of a difference between what you can say is Black love and African love, because at least African love ties you to the land question and the identity of love of Africa. Being Black, you love of Black land. I don't know where that is quite yet. We'll find out. So, Comrade Fulton, you ready to come back to give us the total on that?
Oh. 102. What was the total? 102.
Uhuru, can you show me if anybody went online to do a donation with Cash App or the Cash App?
Okay.
We're trying to cover all the bases.
127.
We have a total of $127. How much did I ask for? Oh, we asked for 150.
So, 1,
22 short. But what do we have any online, Kabula?
what was that?
Board 20 online.
20.
So it's $23, right? To make 50.
Yep.
Yeah, $23.
We're $23 short.
Mm-hmm. How many people we got in here? Everybody gave $1. We got 23 people in here. $1.50. Something. Well, yeah. Excuse me.
Okay, comrades, we gonna stick here or are we gonna love a little more? You know the love you give is equal to the love you receive. All right?
And
And
that's scientific, isn't it?
yeah,
Sounds like the energy is neither created nor destroyed.
so, so $1.
You guys are funny.
In reality, you may not know it, but if you donate without expecting anything back, you'd be surprised at how energy comes back to you in different ways. And in different ways that you know nothing about. I remember quickly, I had asked, I want to do poetry to help people, but I didn't want to know who they were. If it didn't matter to me if they knew something I said helped them. I didn't want to know who they were or where they lived. So I didn't have any idea what that was gonna manifest. And about 2 weeks later, this DJ had a internet radio show and he invited me on there one Friday night. And by that Monday morning, he told me, this is your show. So I had my first internet radio show and we got calls from Ghana, Nigeria, from the islands that said that they were into that poetry program. So my request came through and I had no idea how it was gonna come through. And I didn't even know how to be an MC, but I learned quickly. He stayed there with me one night after I became the show, after the show became mine. And after that, it was all gravy. So you never know where you get ideas of how you want to share with people and what you get back. And with that, how many dollars do we have now? All right, still counting. Okay. Oh, we got dollars being thrown out, y'all. Come on now.
There are questions
So,
in the chat.
fine.
There are questions in the chat. So I'm going to finish with this $150 that we just got. If we get $150, come around and be done.
Well, we were $23 short. I think we got the 23.
Okay.
Yeah, so that means 150. Now you watching me, I can't count. Okay.
Down.
Yeah, buddy. We got that energy going now. I like that.
And 35. Well. All right. That's it. There's probably some more on mine. I think we're there because we only needed $23. All right.
We made our goal, y'all. And I want to thank you for the love.
Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you, comrades. Appreciate that generosity, that revolutionary love. They're great. Okay, we do have a couple of questions online. So one of the questions is, are there any classes being provided by the movement? So I wanted to have yes, but well, the question is as stated. So just to almost make a comment on that, there is classes in one regard. It is actually coming up in the announcements. So on Thursday, there are studies that occur online. Those studies occur organized by the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, and that'll be a slide that's coming up under the announcements. So if anyone is interested in that, you can learn a little bit more about African internationalism that way. And another question is there an app anyone can download for Uhuru content? So, yeah. So once again, even back at the table, there's a QR code that you can scan. And when it comes to the announcement select section, you'll see where you can get further information and you can download information that way. And we appreciate, and you get further content that way. So we do appreciate the questions that came forward. Now we're going to have announcements. If there are no other further questions, we have a question in the back, please. Could you come? What you know? What about it? Oh yeah, you can get Facebook content. You can get YouTube content. Yes, they are. And so, and with all movement activities, if you subscribe, you can always go to Burning Spirit Media or News, hit subscription, and you will always receive updates. And if you go to the InPDUM page, International People's Democratic Movement, or any of the institutions, the African National Women's Organization, you will always have that opportunity and receive those updates as they come about. Next, we are having announcements. In our announcement section, we have two announcements today. We have just the one announcement, basically from the Uhuru Food Supplies from Comrade Ciali. And then the rest of the announcements for the afternoon will come from Comrade Nick Brown, Uhuru.
And Sophia. And Sophia.
And Sophia.
Uhuru.
Glad you know. All right, so as you can see, we fought and won. The struggle, it was an arduous struggle, but we came victorious. So, and then the next slide, we want to thank the 110 plus supporters at the hearing. We want to thank the 25 people who spoke at the hearing, the 330 supporters who signed letters, petitions, and wrote in. We want to thank the Northside Independent Neighborhood Association. We want to thank the St. Louis Business Coalition. We want to thank the politicians who wrote letters of support. We want to thank the attorney. And we want to thank the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement and Uhuru Solidarity Movement for their participation in this fight as well. And then the next slide, we want to give a special appreciation to the brilliant leadership of InPDUM President Onus Chatella. And the last slide, we want everyone to continue to show your support for Uhuru Bakery and Cafe. And because of that, we hired an attorney to represent InPDUM at the hearing. And so we are looking for donations. So you can donate at apedum.org. You contribute to the $3,000 in legal fees to be incurred in this, but it's money well spent. So because you got that victory. So I just wanted to put that out, and that's love.
Uhuru, yes.
Hey, Uhuru.
Uhuru.
One Africa.
One nation.
One nation.
One love.
Got all the love today. This is it, coming from every angle. So Comrade Nick is coming up to continue with the announcement. Nick is a member of the International People's Democratic Movement.
One Africa.
One nation.
One Africa.
One nation.
I'm not gonna hold anybody too long with the announcements. Thank you, Beth, Sally, everything you said, and everybody did a great job. Just a quick few other announcements. The Black and Black Coalition is hosting partnership with the Uhuru Movement. The contact information for them are all listed up on the screen. Call them at 314-254-2656. The deadlines are for March. They're good. The race for the state and some of the partnerships are good until March 11th, 2025. One of the ways that you can register, again, you can register at their website, tinyurl.com/BIB911, or you can go to their website at blackisblackcoalition.org. For the next slide, I'd like to announce where you can get copies of the Burning Spirit. Get your copy today. You can go on the Burning Spirit store website, burningspirit.com/subscribe. And help out the movement that way. Make sure to get you a copy. Yeah. Next slide, please. After that, all we have left for the registrations for InPDUM, RNDMP. We have the classes that was asking online. We have our classes every Thursday at 7 p.m. on Zoom. You can subscribe or register at the tinyurl.com/RNDP studies. Okay, there's studies for all the information you'll need for political communication and content. You can subscribe on the Facebook webpage as well. Right. Next slide. After that, y'all, we need y'all to know we need more people. Always gonna need more people to come on out to the Sunday rallies, help us get bigger and stronger. Get the message out to the people. we have to help ourselves. The Uhuru is maybe the St. Louis, and they are doing big things. And struggle with some of the legislation trying to get the Uhuru bakery up, and we just got through that. We just made it through that obstacle. We just overcame it. So coming through strong, trying to help out, bring black business, bring your business to the city, local business to the city, hiring people, giving people jobs. So y'all come on out here, see at the rally on Sundays, 3 p.m., starting at 3 p.m., see what we're doing. All right? Uhuru.
Uhuru.
And we're going to thank you. You can keep that up there for a minute. Appreciate that. So we're going to bring up Comrade Sophia to give us an example of how since we're talking about building rallies, in terms of how we can help build the rallies. You know, Comrade Sophia is coordinating the cavalry, which is the piece. So we're going to hear from her. And there's always opportunity to do phone banking too. If you're so inclined, we can get you a list of names, and you basically call people to remind them and let them know that the Sunday rally event is happening every Sunday. But Sophia, come on up and give your spiel.
One more.
All right, everyone. So we were talking about how can you help build the rally. A couple of the areas is organizing
Talk
the
into
care
the mic
move.
so they can hear you online.
So organizing the care move is one way that you can help build the rallies. And with that, we always have people bring in different items so that we can piece together. But it's more, not necessarily a potluck, but everybody bring in items that contribute to that meal that we'll have. And this week is pretty much Mexican week. So we'll have hard and soft tacos and the fixings that go along with that. And then for next week, what I was asking for people to do is to, one, I want to try to find out, because of the people that come every week, I don't want to keep giving you the same things every week, but give you a little bit of input on it as well. So one idea was that we can have sandwiches and burgers. They can have vegan and so would you all prefer that, or would you prefer to go back to the pasta? Having pasta again. So does anybody have any preference on what we have for next week?
Ribs, cornbread, collard greens. If somebody bring them, we can have it.
You're just talking about burgers itself, or?
It could be burgers, because I have some Impossible burgers. Then we would get somebody else to get the beef patties, or maybe chicken or lunch meat or something like that.
Okay, so I actually have like, like quite a bit of lunch meat at home that I had gotten from the pantry, been in the freezer, and I just don't have any places to send it to, So if I can, when Opie drops me off, I can just send it back, or something, that would be good.
So are you all bored with pasta? Do you want to try something else with sandwiches, or do you want to?
Well, let's do, she's donate lunch meat, so we got sandwiches and.
Okay. Okay, so we got lunch meat, and can someone, is anyone interested in, because I have 10 vegan patties, is anyone else interested in bringing a few more so that we can have enough for the vegans, or like avocado, different things like that? So do I have anyone, takers for who would want to bring certain things, and then somebody will bring buns?
And if you sign up to bring something, bring it. Don't be a Westbrook. Don't be a Westbrook, because I forgot this spread that is in my refrigerator. So don't be a Westbrook.
Bring it next week.
I sure will.
Longer than it's fine.
Yeah.
This lettuce back here, I got some. So do we have any takers for bread? Anyone able to bring bread for next week, buns or sandwich meat, covered bread?
Okay, go ahead. Oh, your restaurant don't know. I don't know that.
Okay, exactly. I'll bring the bread.
Okay, so we got Westwood on bread. And then lettuce, avocado, tomatoes. Do we have anybody able to bring those type of items?
I can get some avocados.
Avocado and tomatoes here with
Kumba.
Kumba. How do you pronounce your name correctly?
How do you get to it?
Kumba. I just want to make sure I'm saying it correctly. But So then we have the condiments. Anybody able to bring condiments that go along with those things? And I'm looking at burgers. Okay, we got Nick on condiments. And then.
So what does that mean? You bring what? Ketchup, mustard, what's that?
Ketchup, mustard,
Mayo.
mayonnaise, cheese.
Oh, okay.
Okay, cheese too. There we go.
I got you.
All right.
Well, there you go.
Okay, and then someone for dessert and then drinks.
What else that?
You said, you don't remember what you said.
Yeah, I did bread, right? Sure. I bring the bread and the beverages.
Bread and beverages, okay. And then what did you say, Miss, I can hear you.
Yep,
Okay,
there you go.
so that sounds like we have a full meal for next week. and
All right.
I might surprise y'all.
Woo-hoo! All right. Oh, you know what?
Sorry.
Yeah.
So let's work together on that.
You see, I not get checked out.
Okay.
Okay, Jessica said he got beverages too.
Okay. Cool. I got all that. Supposed to be writing all these down. Oh. But I get it. Yeah,
So everybody make
Yeah, we
sure
can
you check
check it
in with
afterwards. It
Sophia
doesn't
and we
need
got
to
it
be online.
recorded. It's
But,
recorded online.
See, these are basic things that you can do to, as a member of InPDUM,
Mhm.
is just being able to bring things to contribute to the meetings.
Mhm.
There are also other things you may be able to contribute, like your skills, if you are good at designing flyers, if you
Yep.
are audio visual, and you can help with the audio and sound and different things like that. So there are many ways that you can contribute to as a member of InPDUM. Sometimes it's just being in the audience and learning. That's the perfect place to start, is just learning about the movement and then asking the questions. And if you see anything that doesn't make sense to you, raising those questions, because that way we kind of understand if there are other people who are newer to this information, where the differences may be in the learning capability. Because a lot of us, if you're here every week, you know a lot of the information, but then for newer people, it may be a little bit more difficult for them to digest. So anybody on any level can become a member of InPDUM and contribute in your very own way. Now, the other thing I want to announce was about ANWO, which is the African National Women's Organization. And we're looking to build that chapter because we have the headquarters here in St. Louis. We have a building on Natural Bridge that we're looking to turn into the headquarters and get that renovated and everything. So you can always go to ANWOUHURU, so ANWOUhuru.org. There's an area where you can donate. There's an area where you can click on events and see a lot of the lessons and teachings that they have there, because they also do online studies where you can call in and ask questions a lot of times. And there are different events that you can sign up for there. But one of the main things that we have coming up and we want to get you prepared for is the Liberation Lives Gala that will be taking place on March 29th, 2025 of this year. It'll be here in St. Louis. You can wear your fancy clothes.
All right.
Get to fellowship with one another. And get to see some of the people that are being honored and different things like that. They still have the early bird special going on, so you can get your tickets at $40 there. You can go online, get your ticket there. They also have additional tickets where you can get your swag bag and different things like that. So go on our site, the ANWOUhuru.org, to and click on events to go to the gala and see what level you want to donate at, because higher levels you get more perks there. And then if you have a business or something that you want to advertise, then you can have a level for that. So make sure you go on there and get that. It is a fundraiser so that we can help to get that the Liberation Center renovated, so that hopefully by next year we can have it up and running to be just a safe haven for people who just need to, a safe place to be. And it's not just for women, it's for the community.
Uhuru.
We also are looking for members to help build the branch here, so we still need a lot of positions. We'll be working on building that, so if you have a different roles that you wanna play, just like with InPDUM. There are different areas that you can fit in. If you're interested in doing that, you can always go to the animal site that we mentioned, or if you wanna come to the rallies, or if you wanna talk to me after the meeting here, let me know. And we can discuss what role you can play in that, what role you're interested in playing. We look forward to creating and finding out what the community needs, especially the women in the community, so that we can build programs around that, so that those needs are no longer there, to make sure that these women that are dealing with this don't feel like they're out there alone. That's one of the things that I look forward to helping to build and the organization.
Uhuru.
And I think with that, that is going to be my final word. Again, Karamu is the Mexican thing today, so forward to serving you.
Just one final announcement. What you will see before you on the screen is a case dealing with Comrade Sister Lisa Davis, who is the vice chair of the Black is Back Coalition. And the Black is Back Coalition is an organization of organizations led by our chairman, Amalia Satella. And if you've been following, she, for lack of a better terminology, caught a case while participating, actually attending a rally, a demonstration in New Jersey where she lives. And the only African that was there ended up being charged in the case. And the state has determined to move forward. If you've been following any of this, you know, the Black is Back Coalition, as well as the Uhuru movement, has been fighting, working to fight. And we know that when we fight, we win. So we want to get behind Sister Lisa, again, who's the vice chair of the Black is Back. She goes to, the schedule to go to trial on the 21st, which is next Friday. And we're asking people to send emails or call. We'll see the numbers listed there on your screen. There she has a petition online that you can sign at tinyurl.com/BIB Lisa Davis. So this week, everyone, let's go ahead and make these calls. Let's send these letters. Let's sign the petition. I know a lot of you have Facebook pages, have Twitter, and whatever all these other social media things are. But let's get this posted. Let's share it far and wide, and let the state know that you know, we're not walking away from this. And this is the case with many of us that have had to face the state. It takes all of us to back them down. So let's back them down and get them off our back.
All right. Thank you for all the announcements, everyone. So this brings us to the close of our Saturday rally. And once again, we have our carol that will be in the back to the right. So we want everybody to enjoy that. And remember, if you're in St. Louis, we are located at 4101 West Florissant. We'll be here next week, 3 to 5 p.m. at the Uhuru House. Until next time, Uhuru, fist up.
Fight back.
Fist up.
Fight back. Uhuru.